notes on the guitar and how to make chords. Now, when you play a song on the guitar, you have to be able to play chords. And a chord is just two or more notes played together at the same time. So like, I'm going to show you some chords, but I'll just play a couple of them. Here's a D chord. Here's a C chord. See how that sounds a little different? You got C, D, and here's G. And here's A. There's lots and lots of chords on the guitar, probably thousands of different chords, but a lot of songs that you can learn to play, you can learn with about 3 or 4 chords. So those are the ones I'm going to teach you, the real common chords that everybody uses to play lots of different songs. Alright, so let's start with an easy chord called the D chord, and what I'm going to be telling you is which fingers to use and which strings and which frets to make the chord. So we'll call this your first finger, your index finger, your middle finger is your second finger, your ring finger is your third finger, and your little finger is your fourth finger. A lot of chords you just need 3 fingers, and some you just need 2. Okay, now to play a D chord, what we're going to do is we're going to take our first finger and we're going to put it on the 3rd string. And remember, we start from the bottom, the high string. 3rd string, 2nd fret. Now it's really important to put your finger right next to the fret. The fret, remember, is the little metal bar that runs across the fingerboard. So we're going to push really hard, and it's just to the left of the fret, almost right on it. See, if I put it way down here in the middle, it doesn't sound too good. But when I move it up here next to the fret, see, it sounds good. Alright, so to make a D, our first finger goes on the 3rd string, 2nd fret. Your second finger goes on the 1st string, 2nd fret. And then your 3rd finger goes on the 2nd string, 3rd fret. Now, when you play a D chord, you only play the bottom 4 strings. So that's a D. So the bass note, that's the low note for the D, is your 4th string, and that's open. You don't have that pushed down at all. So that's a D chord, so practice that. That's a D. Now you'll notice sometimes I use a pick when I play. The pick gives a little different sound. You can play with the pick, or you can strum it with your fingers, like with your thumb, like that. So that's a D. Now, here's what happens to most people when they first start playing. They don't push down hard enough on the strings, and they let their fingers touch more than one string at the same time, and that makes it sound bad. So I'll show you what I mean by that. And you've probably noticed that if you've tried to play this D chord. If your fingers are touching more than just the string they're supposed to be touching, it'll muffle it. It'll sound like that. And that's not what you want. You want it to sound like that. So it's really important to get your hand really up so that the only string you're touching is the one that you're supposed to be touching. So once again, first finger goes on the 3rd string, 2nd fret. Second finger goes on the 1st string, 2nd fret. And the 3rd finger, your ring finger, goes on the 2nd string, 3rd fret. So that's a D. All right. They played lots of songs using the D chord. Okay, the next chord we're going to learn is called the A. Now the A chord, I'm going to tell you which fingers to use. Your first finger goes on, and it's all on the same fret. They all fit together on the second fret. So your first finger goes on the 4th string, 2nd fret, and your second finger goes on the 3rd string, 2nd fret, and your third finger goes on the 2nd string, 2nd fret. Did I say that right? All on the 2nd fret. So the 4th string, the 3rd string, and the 2nd string. And the high E string, that number 1, stays open, so you're not touching that one. And the bass note for the A chord is the 5th string up here. That's the A string. So that's the A chord. So once again, your first finger goes on the 4th string, 2nd fret. Your second finger goes on the 3rd string, 2nd fret. And your third finger goes on the 2nd string, 2nd fret. And you play from the 5th string, the A string, down. So practice that until it sounds good and it's not muffled. It's all real clear. And make sure that high E string, you're not touching that so it rings like that. See how it's ringing out like that? That's very important for the A chord. Okay? That's the A chord. Okay, the next chord we're going to learn to play is called the G chord. The G chord is used in lots and lots of songs, so you got to learn this G chord. Now the G, it's a little bit of a stretch. Now you're going to notice, by the way, when you first start, your fingers are going to hurt because you have to push down the strings really hard. And it's going to get frustrating a little bit, so you just have to play a little bit more each day, and your fingers will get really tough and you'll get calluses on there, and then it won't hurt. But it takes time, so you just got to bear with it and be tough with your fingers. So the G chord, you push down with your first finger on the 5th string, 2nd fret. You take your second finger and put it on the 6th string, this low E string, 3rd fret. And then with your third finger, you play the 1st string, 3rd fret. Now with the G, you play all 6 strings. So that's a G. Now I'm going to show you another way to play the G, and you can decide which one works best for you. The other way is that you play it with your second finger on the 5th string, 2nd fret, your third finger on the 6th string, the low E string, 3rd fret, and you stretch your little finger down and you play the 1st string, 3rd fret. See, it's the same thing. And that's the way I play a G because it makes it easier to change chords from like G to C, which is a common chord change that we'll talk about later. So if your fingers can stretch that whole way, I would say go ahead and try to play the G like this. So again, your second finger, 5th string, 2nd fret, your third finger, your ring finger, on the 6th string, 3rd fret, and your little finger on the 1st string, 3rd fret. And play all 6 together like that. Okay, that's that's a G. So practice that until you can play it where it sounds all clear like that. Okay, our next chord we're going to play is another very important chord for the guitar, and that's a C chord. With a C, you play it with your first finger on the second string, first fret. Your second finger goes on the fourth string, second fret. And your third finger goes on the fifth string, third fret. And you strum the bottom 5. So once again, your first finger goes on the second string, first fret. Your second finger goes on the fourth string, second fret, and your third finger goes on the fifth string, third fret. And that's a C. And kind of like the A chord, you want this high E string is open, so you want to not be touching that, so it rings out real strong like that. That's part of the C chord, just to play that E string open at the high E. Okay, so we're going to learn those 4 chords: D, A, G, and C. D, A, G, and C. Because there's lots of songs that you can play using those 4 chords. So D, A,